All right, today we have a couple of articles here on the economic dawn of the new space era. So welcome back to AstroEconomica. Today we're looking at two fascinating and seemingly different developments in the space sector that actually tell a cohesive story about where the global space economy is heading. On the one hand, we have China laying out its vision for $1 trillion deep space economy by the year 2040. And on the other, we have the U.S. Space Force radically changing its procurement strategy for their critical communication satellites. So they're betting big on smaller commercial-style platforms in geostationary orbit. So let's clean up our articles here. This is the one about the Space Force, and then, this is a weird advertisement with some toes. Clean that one up, get rid of those ads, there we go. Then the Space Conference in China. Alright, so what is the connection here? Well, it's all about the general shift that we're seeing from government-led exploration to a new era of commercially driven, economically focused space development. So let's break it down. First, let's look at the announcement from China. So at the third International Deep Space Exploration Conference, the chief engineer of China's Deep Space Exploration Lab unveiled a roadmap for what they are calling the quote-unquote deep space economy. The scale of this ambition is pretty staggering because they project a global market reaching $1 trillion by 2040. Now, China's deep space exploration is moving beyond just pure science and tech demonstration into a new phase of economic empowerment and industry-driven development. So they see this as a core engine for driving growth and upgrading their entire aerospace industry. So the report identifies 10 major sectors for this new economy. Resource exploitation, space-based internet and energy, transportation and construction, and even sectors like tourism, security, and cultural creativity. So this isn't just about planting flags, it's about building a sustainable, multifaceted economy beyond Earth. So to achieve this, China is calling for international cooperation, tech innovation, and a blend of government guidance on top of the commercial momentum. So the focus of this conference itself on near-Earth asteroids, planetary defense, and resource utilization shows that they are already thinking about the practical steps that they need in order to make this a reality. Now, let's pivot to the U.S. and the Space Force's Protected Tactical SATCOM Global Program, or PTS-G. So for decades, the U.S. military has relied on massive, multi-ton, highly customized satellites for secure communications from geostationary orbit. These are indispensable but also incredibly expensive, and they present what the Pentagon views as attractive targets for adversaries. So the PTS-G program completely flips this model on its head. It marks the military's first major effort to deploy constellations or groups of small satellites, so small satellites that are all connected to each other some way, in this geostationary belt. So the core idea here is to distribute the risk across a swarm, if you will, of smaller, more numerous platforms. And this makes the network both more resilient against electronic warfare and other threats. Say they got struck by something flying around out there. But the real revolution here is in the business model. So this isn't just about smaller satellites, it's a fundamental change in the procurement strategy. So instead of the old way of a single prime contractor building a few bespoke satellites over decades, the Space Force is rewriting the playbook. They've set up a 15-year, $4 billion contract and selected a pool of 5 suppliers to compete for orders. So this includes some of the typical defense giants we would think of, like Boeing and Northrop Grumman, but also commercial players and even a startup like Astronis, which has carved out a niche in the commercial small geo orbit market. So the program explicitly says its aim is to leverage, quote, commercial baseline designs to the fullest extent possible, unquote. So this is what we think of as a hybrid model. The satellites will be government-owned, but built using commercial technologies and manufacturing processes, which is a major departure from the past. So, how do these two stories connect? Well, both China's grand vision and the U.S. Space Force with their pragmatic shift point to the same underlying trend, and that is the commercialization and industrialization of space. So highly relevant for this channel. So first, the economics are driving innovation. The reason the Space Force can even consider this swarm approach in GEO is because the economics have changed. There's cheaper access to orbit and a vibrant commercial sector that's making smaller, more affordable geosatellites have made this model now viable. So companies like Astronis, Terran Orbital, and others are creating a new market for small geobuses that can be produced and launched faster and in batches. So the PTS/G program is a direct response to and an accelerator of these commercial innovations. Second, we see resilience through proliferation. So the military's desire for resilience by distributing assets across many smaller satellites mirrors the foundational logic of a robust commercial economy. A diverse ecosystem with multiple providers and platforms is inherently going to be stronger than a monolithic one. So China's vision for 10 different sectors also points to this. They are creating a diversified economic base in deep space and not just relying on one thing like resource extraction. Third, the government is acting as a catalyst now and not just the sole actor. So China is explicitly saying they want commercial impetus alongside government guidance. And similarly, the U.S. Department of Defense is being pushed by Congress to, quote, prefer commercial goods and services, end quote. So the PTS-G program is a perfect example. They're leveraging a competitive field of commercial and non-traditional providers in order to drive the innovation and lower the costs. John Gedmark, the CEO of Astronis, noted the huge unmet demand for broadband from military users and proposes a, quote, government-owned, commercially operated model, end quote, to meet it quickly. So this is the new paradigm that we're in now. So what we're witnessing is the blueprint for the next phase of space development. We're watching it in real time. So whether it's a trillion-dollar economic vision for deep space or a multi-billion-dollar military pivot to commercial-style procurements, the message here is becoming clearer. The future of space is economic. It will be built on public-private partnerships, driven by commercial innovation, and defined by a diverse and resilient industrial base, both in orbit and beyond. So that is it for today at AstroEconomica. What do you think? Is China's trillion-dollar vision achievable? Will the Space Force's commercial bet pay off? Feel free to let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.